Your husband's addiction, it obviously, I asked you initially whether it presented itself in a silent or a loud way. It obviously presented to you in a very loud way.
Yeah.
But the silent little happenings in the background, retrospectively, how did they look for you?
Guess for me, it looked like disconnection for a start, almost like I'm sitting at one end of the couch, he's at the other, but we might as well have been on the other side of the country from each other.
Yeah,
And I do remember, feeling really frustrated, like I couldn't reach him, but just thinking, oh, he's stressed at work or, like, and I remember my mum's saying that she was worried that he was having an affair because he was always on his phone, which was the gambling.
yes,
Yeah, so there was that, the distance. He was very good at pretending he was okay, like,
yeah,
turning it on.
yeah,
And I still see it now sometimes where I go, "You don't have to perform for people. They don't like
yeah,
you, who cares?" You
yeah,
gotta like yourself first.
yeah,
But they're very good at doing that, putting that mask on. And I think, like, when we think about, say, a drug addiction or alcohol, usually we find signs of it.
yes,
And when you're looking for gambling, especially when it's done online,
mm,
where do you find the signs?
yeah, yeah,
And it's done right, he's sitting next to me on the couch doing it, and I didn't know, on his phone
yes.
gambling.
Was he
Yeah.
emotive around his gambling? Like highs of winning and lows of losing?
No, no.
No,
And
it
I
was
remember
just
saying to him, "Yeah, I
habitual.
don't understand it." Yeah, because I go, "Well, how do you keep going when you're losing all the money, you're under that much stress that, you're living a double life really, and trying to cover your tracks all the time?" He was like, "It's almost like I was on autopilot." Like, I just knew that I had to do it, and, a lot of his went back to childhood trauma when he started his healing and uncovering that, but to me, that's what addiction is, almost like I'm uncomfortable within myself, and I've found this way to cope, and, like, for me, that was food. I recognised that within myself. For him, it was gambling, and
Yeah,
it's like, if I put that bet on, it's not even about the money, it's about that feeling. And
yes,
then, obviously, if your horse loses, because his was all horse racing, if your horse loses, oh, okay, how am I gonna be able to make myself get to that space to be able to do that again? Almost like the money isn't money, it's just the means to be able to soothe yourself.
yes, yes, and like I'm a gambler myself actually, so I'm really intrigued into this, and as an addict of alcohol, I need to be really careful of how I gamble, and I can certainly acknowledge when I was healing from my addiction to alcohol, my gambling expenditure changed.
Yeah.
And it's something that I need to be really mindful that I'm not just switching the witch for the bitch, as we talk about in substance, but
Yeah.
addiction can present itself in food, shopping, gambling, sex, becoming a triathlete, or substance, of which I could pick up all of those, apart from probably being a triathlete, I think. But I do need to be really mindful about how I look at those sorts of things as well in my
Yeah.
life.
And this was why, like, for him, as I studied trauma and learned, all about addiction, that was I've gotta know everything. I've gotta get that monster out of the cupboard because it was really scary when it first come along. I had these ideas about addiction that were so untrue, they're like
Yes.
what you see in the movies, and it's not
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
And as I started to do that, I started to go, "Okay, if you're getting support, I wanna make sure that they're looking at why you're doing it, not what you're doing, but
Yes.
why you're doing it."
Yes.
Otherwise, we are just gonna be swapping.